Shalom, I'm Saint Jediel with Saints of Israel. All right, and this lesson is titled, Does God Approve of Christmas? All right, so I'm going to read Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1 through 5. All right, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verses 1 through 5. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. The heathen are who? The other nations, non-Israelites. Right? And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. Meaning what? Don't regard the zodiac signs and all that foolishness, trying to figure out, okay, what does this mean, when you look at the sky. That's a pagan custom. The whole zodiac sign thing, that's a pagan custom. That's a pagan heathen custom. All right. Verse 3. For the customs of the people, which people? The other nations, are vain. What does it mean vain? Lies. All right. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. Okay, so what celebration is it when people usually go to the forest, right, and cut out a tree? All right. Now today, you can just buy a tree from the store. However, how do they get those trees that are in those stores? And I'm talking about the real trees. I'm not talking about the plastic trees. The real trees. How do they get them in there? They go to the forest and they cut them down and they sell them in their stores. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to keep reading. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. Verse 4. They deck it with silver and with gold. Now you know this is talking about Christmas, because there's even a song called Silver and Gold, Silver and Gold. All right, and if you look at Christmas trees, people usually decorate them with silver and gold, with the gold and silver balls and the what do you call it? I forgot what it's called, but they put like the kind of like the rope thing around it, like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, they design it with silver and gold ornaments. All right. They fastened it with nails and with hammers. Okay, but today they have we call it a tree stand that you can put it on. All right. They fastened it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. Verse 5. They are upright as the palm tree. All right. So in ancient times they used palm trees. All right, but in modern times, of course, they use evergreen trees. Right, the triangular trees. Those are evergreen trees. Right. They are upright as a palm tree, but speak not. They must needs to be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good. All right. And what do these trees represent? The tree represents the supposed reincarnated Nimrod. Okay, Tammuz. All right. So that's what the tree represents, even with the Yule log. All right. So according to the Bible, does God approve of Christmas? No, He does not. All right. And also to prove that Christmas is not our custom, I'm going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 11. There's a book of Revelation, chapter 11, verses 8 through 10. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. What is the great city? Let's find out. Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. All right, so this is talking about what? The United States of America. Okay, why is it called Sodom? Because gay and lesbian marriage, LGBTQ marriage was made legal here, and it's called Egypt. Why is it called Egypt? Because remember, ancient Egypt enslaved us Israelites. Okay, and guess what? America did the same thing. Okay, that's how this country was built. Okay, when us Israelites, right, were brought to the Americas, and as well as other countries as well. Okay, but mainly brought to America on slave ships. All right, so just like Egypt, they enslaved the Israelites, and just like Sodom, they celebrate homosexuality. All right. Verse 8, read it again. Verse 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Now, how is Christ crucified? Now, we know Christ was crucified in Jerusalem, okay? But how is He crucified here? They crucified his image, okay, because we know from Daniel chapter 10, verse 5 to 6, and Revelation chapter 1, verses 11 to 15, that Christ is a black man, okay, described as a black man. But guess what? What society tell you, especially in Time magazine? They tell you he's a white man, okay? They tell you that white image, who's actually Caesar Borgia, they tell you that white image is Jesus. Okay, so that's how they crucified Christ. They crucified his image. Okay, not only did they crucify his image, they crucified his teaching. Okay, because Christ said in Matthew 15:24 that he's not sent but to the lost sheep in the house of Israel. But what does the Christian church tell you? What does mainstream society tell you? They tell you that he died for everybody. Even though Peter said in Acts chapter 5, verse 30 and 31 that Christ died for Israel. He died to give repentance to Israel. I'm paraphrasing. Okay, so they crucified his image and they crucified his message. That's how they crucified Christ here. Okay, they crucified his real image of him being a black man, and they crucified his message only dying for Israel. Okay, so that's how they crucified him here. All right, I'm going to keep reading. Verse 9, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, okay, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. Now, what does it mean by dead bodies? Let's read Proverbs 21:16 real quick. Okay, it says they didn't suffer our dead bodies to be put in graves. There's a book of Proverbs chapter 21, verse 16. All right, you can read this. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So how are people dead? Our people are dead spiritually by being in these Christian churches, being in Catholicism, okay, being in Islam, okay, all these other religions. That's how our people are dead, okay? Okay, because why? Because our people wandered out of the understanding of who they are in God's laws. Okay, they wandered out of the understanding of the true understanding of this Bible. Okay, and Psalm chapter 111 verse 10 says, "A good understanding have all they that do His commandments." Okay, Proverbs chapter 7 verse 2. Keep my commandments and live. Okay, so without the commandments of God, guess what? Our people are dead. You understand? Spiritually. Okay, so that's what it's talking about in Revelation chapter 11. Okay, when it says they're dead bodies. Okay, because our people are spiritually dead. Right? And shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. Verse 10. And they that dwell upon the earth, meaning the other nations, shall rejoice over them and make merry. Okay, all these other nations, read Psalms 83. Guess what? It was a crafty counsel to get our people to fall, to get our people, enslaved and in this dead state that we're in today. Okay, it was a crafty counsel. Read Psalms 83. Okay, all these other nations were in agreement with us going into slavery, losing our identity, and being in the lowest state that we're in. Okay, all the nations are in agreement. Okay. Verse 10, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry. Does it sound familiar? And shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. Now, who are the two prophets? Judah and Ephraim, the two kingdoms of Israel. Okay, there's a split in 1 Kings chapter 12. Okay, so those are the two prophets. Okay, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. Now here's an example of us tormenting the other nations. 2 Chronicles chapter 25. Get to read verse 11. Okay. There's a book of 2 Chronicles chapter 25 verse 11. And Amaziah strengthened himself. Now Amaziah was the king of Judah during the time, all right? From the tribe of Judah. Okay. And Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people, and went to the valley of Salt, and smote of the children of Seir 10,000. Now, who are the children of Seir? Let's go to Genesis 36, verse 8. There's a book of Genesis chapter 36, verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. So when we talk about Seir, the children of Seir, it's talk about the Edomites, who are the so-called white people, Caucasians today, right? Yes, there was a time when we tormented them, but why did we do that? For them to keep God's laws, okay? We didn't mess with these other nations. We didn't play around with these other nations, okay? All right? Okay, so 2 Chronicles chapter 25, verse 11 again. Okay. 2 Chronicles chapter 25, verse 11. And Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people and went to the valley of Salt and smote of the children of Seir, the Edomites, 10,000. Verse 12. And the other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive, and brought them unto the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, that they all were broken in pieces. So led them up to a high hill and threw them off the cliff. Yeah, we didn't play around with these other nations. We didn't mess around. All right. So that's how we tormented the nations. Okay, so I'm going to read it again. Verse 10. There's a book of Revelation chapter 11, verse 10. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them. I mean, well, the other nations were glad at our fall, right? And make merry. What do you mean by make merry? Merry Christmas. Okay? And shall send gifts one to another. That's like, no, it's talking about Christmas. They send gifts. What do people do during Christmas? Send gifts to one another, right? And they make merry. Okay? Merry Christmas, they say. All right? And shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. I'm going to read it one more time. Revelation chapter 11, verse 10. And they that dwell upon the earth, the other nations, shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets, Judah and Ephraim, okay, the two kingdoms of Israel, okay, northern kingdom and southern kingdom, okay, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. Yeah, because there's a time when, we were hard on the other nations. Why? To make them keep the commandments of God. Okay, so Christmas, okay, is a celebration of our downfall. Even if you look in how they celebrate Christmas in Amsterdam, okay, with Santa Claus, okay, and who's dressed up as Pope Nicholas V, who he actually represents. So not only does he represent Satan, he represents Pope Nicholas V. And if you look at the name Old Nick, in the dictionary, Old Nick is a nickname for Satan or the devil. Okay, so yes, Santa Claus, not only is he Satan, okay, he's also Pope Nicholas V, who instituted the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, that's why he has black slaves in Amsterdam called Zwart Piet. Okay, all right. So does God approve of Christmas? Absolutely not. Should we be celebrating Christmas? Absolutely not. Okay, we are the Israelites. Okay, we're to celebrate the high holy days of Leviticus 23. All right. I'm saying JD over sent to Israel. Shalom, be blessed in the Most High God in Christ, the Black Messiah.